Good morning, gang. Good morning. Thanks for the reminder about the paper. I had forgotten, so I just made a quick trip upstairs to take it out. Thank you. All right, how'd work here? Oh, Serge is coming today. That's right. I hadn't talked to him about coming here this morning. I don't even know if he knows about Twitch. I don't know. Anyway, Serge is coming today. Yes, Jacques. Soka. I didn't think about trying to put that together. He's probably busy anyway. But anyway, let's see. Soka, he'll be here today. I hadn't thought about that. Okay. Kind of a lot of things going on here this morning and today and yesterday. Let me check that party then. Today's the 10th. So, God, yes, Serge will be here at 10 o'clock. Okay. Yeah, thanks for the paper reminder. I had forgotten, and it was a big one today. There's 3 batches of paper that had to come out this morning, and I had forgotten. Okay, we've moved on. Those who were here yesterday and have been following for a couple of days, this was the block we were working on yesterday, the key block for the print, the first level. It's now done. It was this design, just some outlines and the outline of the print itself. I finished this yesterday afternoon and I combined it. I took a printout of it and I combined it with a bunch of new lines from the image. If I pop up the original image here again, if you see on the left hand side then, you can see the first key block has the darker outlines. They're not even really visible here. They're the darker outlines around those characters. The second key block, or the second block with lines, will have the lines for the people in the middle distance, and it has the filling in, the first level of filling in shading on those characters in the foreground. And that's what we're carving now. That's this block. So it has 2 types of area. It has full area. This will be the shading in color for the people on the left. And then it also has outlined characters. So this is going to be a bit of a difficult block to print, because the printers have to press firmly to get the solid color, and yet if they press too firmly, the faint, thin outlines will be squished a bit. This is not an optimal way to make prints, but anyway, here we go. All right, I better do some work here because I still have a ton of work to do, and as some of you know, as maybe most of you know, yesterday Cameron sent out our first what's it, advertising, what do you call it, for the gift print for this year, and orders have been flooding in, absolutely flooding in. I have no idea how many are here, but it's going to be big again this year. Let me get going here. Anybody who was thinking that this year's print wasn't going to do very well because the design is not as interesting as last year's. There are lots of people who do find it interesting. So, okay. Okay, here we go again. Again, this area will stay because this is the solid color character. This one will stay. This is a solid color. This is an outline. One of the people in the background. This area too is outline. fans are moving into overdrive here. What's going on? I better get the computer raised up a little bit. I think it's getting hot already. The show and tell the other day about the collection of old Taisho era prints, mostly Harunoku designs, The staff were looking at it last night. They stayed a bit late, Kawai-san and Shiba-san were looking at it, and they're just basically crying, We're happy to see such beautiful prints, but it's sometimes now for us a bit frustrating. I've made it a real point to make sure that the printing staff here sees this stuff all the time and knows about this stuff. But maybe it's a bit too much, because if I push those beautiful prints too much, it leaves them feeling sometimes frustrated about the kind of work we're doing here. It's a bit of a balance. We're making what we think are beautiful prints as well as we can make them. But if I constantly remind these people they're not as good as what it used to be, they're not as good as what it used to be, it can be a bit downheartening, not depressing. It's a bit too strong, but. It's easy to say, there's our goal, let's continue to try and make prints like this, but when in reality we won't ever be able to, then it's sometimes maybe not so good to keep talking about that too much. And both of them, they're printing for us, Shiba-san and Kawai-san, and they were both yesterday not quite so happy about those prints. There's a definite sense of frustration about not being able to make things that beautiful. But then for Shiba-san yesterday was a pretty nice day, She was happy, She doesn't really show it. She doesn't jump up and down, but lots of her prints. We get orders for lots of her prints yesterday, and it's really gratifying for her. The number of modern artists who can sell woodblock prints, there just aren't such things, Also, something else I meant to mention too about Shiba-san's print. I should zoom in here now. Sorry about that. Okay. The unreachable goal, it's because there's too much. The supplies, how can I say it? It's not that human beings back in Taisho era were better human beings than we are. We make fabulous things. iPhones and modern computers and internets and wonderful things we create. So human beings are as good as they were back then. So how can I explain it? We've just set that goal too narrow. To try and make a print now in 2018 the same way that it was made in 1918 is not possible, because too many things have changed. Of course, the paper is different, the wood is different, the tools are different, the pigments are different, the pigment preparation is different. We can get close, but there's no way we can recreate the entire environment that was in place at that time. And men who had had 50 years of experience, there's just too much to strive for. I don't know how I can. It's like, okay, let's take an example outside of print. Let's take the Sistine Chapel ceiling or something, whatever. Something that Michelangelo and his buddies created X hundreds of years ago. Suppose we were trying to build a new chapel there and do another Sistine Chapel ceiling. Of course, there's modern technology and paints and lasers and scaffolds and whatever. You could do something that sort of looked like it. But I bet you couldn't do the same thing, even with all the tools and technology and equipment at our hand. You know, we could make something different and similar, but it wouldn't have the same inherent intrinsic beauty that that thing had. And this is our problem. As long as we define the goal as being the way it was in 1918 or 1818, then by definition we can never get there. I mean, our prints are nice, our prints are beautiful, we're making really nice stuff. But the Great Wave print, I get it. It's really beautifully made. And when you compare with most of the originals, yes, in this case, ours is better. There's a couple of things about this. The original Great Wave was made in what was the date? 1834? I'm supposed to remember this stuff. I can't remember it. It wasn't made carefully. It was made very roughly. So in that sense, it's kind of easy to make one now that's better than that. Because if you make it a bit more carefully with a bit more attention to detail, you can do better than what was done in 1834. But the goal we were talking about, those prints I had yesterday, I don't want to go through the whole thing again, but whatever. The prints we were looking at yesterday, they weren't made in 1834. They were made in the early 20th century, and they were made with the intention of being spectacularly well done, which the original Great Wave wasn't done. And to get color this deep, and to get printing this quality without getting paste, it's mostly the paper. It's mostly the paper. It's mostly the paper. And if we can get there with paper, we can get really close to those prints. I should not ramble too much. Something else I was trying to remind. Oh, yeah. I was supposed to say. Yesterday, Shiba-san was here. She brought her new ghost print here. We chatted about it on the stream a little bit. She sold a bunch of them in the shop today. We put the web page up. And I should mention that the story, she told me what the story is behind the spider print, and I had it a bit wrong yesterday. So what I did last night was I took her Japanese and we translated it more carefully. And on the web page for this, I'll find a link for it now. Oh, where is the... Let me find the print. And the story for her new spider print is horrific. Horrific. I don't like horror movies myself, and I can't bear horror. It's not a genre I like. And Shiba-san does, and this print is horrible. The story. So here, we've got a good English translation now of the basic story. Her Japanese has much here. Here's a link to the page. And the story is now on there. And this is a compressed, condensed version. She told the whole story. She was chatting with people in the shop today, and she told the story as in telling a ghost story. And people are standing around listening and going like this. So it's a story that can be woven and told as a story on a dark and stormy night. So on the webpage there is just a condensed synopsis of what the events are. Oh, look at this. 3 people. 2 people beat me to it. Thanks. Fair enough. Anyway, there's the story. And if I were a movie director making a movie based on this, I would do it a little bit differently. You know, you see the finished print there, so you know how the story ends because you can see the image in her print. But if it was a movie, or if I was just telling the story, I would tell it a bit differently. I would, you would weave the story as it's there in the synopsis I put on the webpage. But then at the end, what I would have is I would just say, what should he do? What would you do? And then I would pause, and then I think I would say, a minute later, the axe dropped to the ground. In other words, did he drop the axe and not kill the spider, Or did he kill the spider and then drop the axe? I would leave it for the viewer to decide, you know, I think. It was fun here yesterday. She was just having so much fun showing it to people. You know. In the middle of all this, we were doing print parties, and a lot of print party people came in. They don't know who Ayumi-san is, Shiba-san is. They just, you know, she held the print party. She chatted with them, and then after the print party, they're hanging around the shop, looking at this, looking at that. Some of the people looking at prints, you know, and a couple of people, they had the party with Ayumi-san, and they picked up her print just off the shelf without knowing that it was her. I pointed out, by the way, the print you're holding there, do you know who designed it? And they're like, well, of course not, how would I know? And I said, it's the girl who just gave you the print party. And they're like, no way. Ah, woven, soka, soka, soka. Yeah, okay, there's a third. Yeah, I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that. Interesting. Yes, I didn't think of that. There could be a third reason why the axe fell to the ground. She had jumped on him and managed to get him first. Yes, look at that. I didn't think of that. Thank you. A three-way cliffhanger. Also, when we were talking about the print in the shop yesterday, before sitting down with her and talking about the translation, I hadn't realized that in the spider web there was all these things hanging there inside the web, and these are body parts. I hadn't known that. The things hanging in the web are little pieces of human bodies, you know, that the spider was saving to eat later, you know. I think she could have got a bit more graphic. If she was really going to go for it, she could have really gone for it, you know. I've got the front door closed today. We can't hear many of the outside sounds. It's really, really chilly now. The weather is changing day by day, and it's getting really kind of cool. We haven't yet had to crank up the heating system here on the first floor. We're really not sure how it's going to work. This is our first winter here, our first cold weather. We came in, we opened up in July. So we'll see. We have no experience of the heating system here. There is one. And how efficient it's going to be and how expensive it's going to be, we don't know. We're about to find out very soon. See, the other thing about the gift print thing that we set up yesterday, the timing, I was really stupid about this, you know. Well, not stupid, just whatever. We were just getting this done as quickly as we can, but we opened it up on a Friday. Today's Saturday in Japan, so we opened that thing up on a Friday in Japan. And of course, Cameron works Monday to Friday usually. He's not here on the weekends. So starting yesterday afternoon, this flood of orders started coming in for the gift prints. And of course Cameron's not here, and this is his job to process these things. So guess what I was doing last night, and I'll be doing all day today. I better get used to it because Cameron is coming up to his holiday. He's a regular employee, he's an actual contracted employee, so he gets legal holidays and stuff. And he gets 10 days in his first year. This is a Japanese rule. And he's the first employee here at Mokonkan ever to actually get holidays, as in paid time to sit at home and do nothing. The other employees here, they're either printers who are paid piecework and they work on their own time and their own schedule. So there's no holidays for a piecework worker. And then the other staff in the shop here, they're part-time workers. They work hourly and they're here day by day. So on a system like that, there's no actual holidays for people like that. But Cameron's the first real full-time employee here, and as such, he gets legislated, holidays. And that's about to come and bite me because he has scheduled his holidays a couple of weeks from now. He's going to be gone. He's scheduled it so he gets his normal holiday plus the weekend before, plus the weekend after, and stuff like that. So it's maximizing his time off, which means maximizing the time that I'm going to have to spend sitting at his computer doing his job. There's nobody else here that knows how to do that, who can handle the English, handle the order processing, do all the emails. So I'm going to go back in time. Starting next week, I'll be doing my own work plus Cameron's work for 10 days. 9 days? A 5-day week plus the weekend at each end. And it's the busiest order time of year. So he and I should have discussed that when I hired him as to the timing of holidays. And I should have maybe made it clear that it wouldn't be such a good idea to take your holiday at our absolute busiest time of year. But that's the way it's worked out. I'm sure he didn't do it on purpose, just that's the way it's worked. And we're still small, there's not enough staff to step in and take over those jobs, I mean, having him here has been a real godsend the last year. But I can't, he's a backup for me, and I can't have a backup for him as well. I'm the backup for him. So. This is going to be difficult to print, you know, the solid color here, right next to these tiny lines. Actually, it's the same thing we were talking about with those Taisho era prints yesterday. The hair on the women right next to the faces. It's exactly the same problem. Is the sound down today? Testing, testing. There is sound. I'm just very quiet this morning. What's the zoom on the lens? I'm not sure. You're talking about the lens I'm looking through or the camera? I don't know. Okay, I think it's okay, right? The microscope is not a really high level magnification. I think people are talking about it there. When I sit down and look through it, if I look through the scope and outside the scope, it's hard to see what I'm... If I get a scale, I can maybe figure this out. I don't know. Get a ruler here. If I put the ruler on the board, and if I sit here looking in the scope and outside the scope, it's like double or something, you know. My finger is about twice as big as it looks on the outside. Yeah, about double size. I'm sorry to be a bit vague about it, you know. So the microscope is not really we're not looking at microscopic level stuff here. As I mentioned before, the purpose of this scope is twofold. One is it replaces my glasses. When, you know, at my age now, I need different glasses for different sort of stuff. If I look around the room, I don't need glasses. If I read a newspaper, I need glasses. If I try carving, I need a different pair of glasses. And this scope allows me to just take my glasses off and look through these lenses, and it's perfectly, absolutely in focus, no matter how I move around or what goes on here. That's the number one part of it. The second part of it, by looking through a scope here, it sets my carving point at a specific spot on the bench. And we've learned, we put the camera focused on that spot, so bingo, everybody who's watching is happy. If I don't have the scope, I move the block around this way, and it goes left and right, and it's never in the middle of the focus point of the camera. And then, of course, the third thing is it does make things bigger, little details like this, and it is a bit easier to see and carve more cleanly and carefully. So the scope is for those three things, really. But people get confused and think that I'm doing like brain surgery down at a microscopic level, and that's not what's happening here. I'm actually not up against the scope even, I'm just looking down into it. Now this character is solid. That last character I cut out, we're leaving just the outlines, because that was this character here, just the outlines. Now I'm going to work on this guy who's a solid block. So I leave his central core, and I just go around the outside. And we cut into the line, not on the outside of the line, because this is a normal color block, key block combination. I keep the zoom pretty much at the same. I'm at the lowest magnification of this scope. If I zoom in too far, then it's just too little of an area. I want to be able to see where my knife is going, so it's zoomed out. What am I seeing? I'm seeing top there, bottom there. I'm seeing this circle inside the scope. If I zoom in too close, you can't see what you're doing. So do I gouge out the edges so I don't overshoot while carving? I'm not quite sure what you mean. Do I gouge out the edges so I don't overshoot while carving? I'm not quite sure what you mean. For a color block like this, I'm cutting inside that black line because we want the color to fill the inner space, come up to the line, but not go outside it. So the block here is for a color, so it comes halfway. I don't know if you can see, well, I've cut this inside this black line. So the color later will fill up to that point. The other parts I carved, we're going to leave the line. So the line is cut exactly as it appears here. So it might be a bit confusing. Talking about those old prints now that we can't do as well as the old prints. I mentioned as an analogy the Sistine Chapel or something like that. Another good analogy to that, I was just thinking about it just now, is the Sensoji Temple here. Those of you who've been to Asakusa know there's this giant famous temple here, Sensoji Temple. And when you read the history, I think the first temple here was 600 and something and whatever built later on. The shape of the temple that we see right now, that was one that was built in, I think it was the 1700s or perhaps the 1800s. I don't know the exact date when that shape was created, in the middle of the Edo time. But the temple itself was destroyed. There was an American air raid on, I think it was March the 10th, March the 10th, 1945. It destroyed the temple and this whole area, not to mention 100,000 people burning to death. But anyway, the temple was gone. The temple burned down in 1945. So there was a few years went by, Japan was reconstructing, getting things back together. Finally they got around to it, and let's rebuild Sensoji Temple. So they got the same problem now. There was an original temple built with old traditional wooden techniques, and here they were in the 1950s, now faced with the idea of rebuilding it. And they rebuilt it in what was to them ultra-modern materials. It was ferroconcrete, it was a steel frame with concrete, and the roof tiles were titanium roof tiles, The point being, they would not rust, they would be extremely light, minimize earthquake damage, stuff like that. So anyway, they built it in modern techniques, technologies. And they're now in real trouble because it's crumbling. What they thought were ultra-modern techniques in 1955 or whatever year it was they were doing it. The sand for the concrete was not so good. They maybe didn't spend quite enough money on it. I don't know what the details are. The point being, the Sensoji temple now is crumbling. It doesn't look bad when you see it because they did a special repaint and revarnishing and special light up job on the outside just a few years ago, just when I came here. But inside it's crumbling. And if they don't do something, it's going to, fall down and start to be an earthquake hazard again. So the modern techniques, which they thought, made the shape of the temple, made a shape of it. It was kind of a parody of a temple when you look at it from the real old days. So the question now is what to do about it. And I'm not in the inner sanctum here, the inner circle, but there's various public discussions going on. And one idea now is to rebuild it again, but this time, instead of doing it in concrete and steel and titanium and whatever else they're going to use, try and recreate the way it was done back in the old days. Try and find trees, hunt the planet to try and find trees that are big enough, thick enough, strong enough. There are shrine craftsmen here and there. There are people rebuilding the Ise shrines, for example, every 20 years. Gather those people, use their expertise, whatever. And it would be about a 10-year project. Build another new Sensoji temple, but using the old techniques. And I guess there would be a question, what do? Do you tear this one down and have no temple there for 10 years while you do that? I don't know what they're thinking or planning, but if I were the boss of the project, what I would do is, there's a giant bus parking lot behind the current temple. Actually, it's a huge empty lot behind the current temple. So you could either just build a new one there, under shrouds, whatever, and then when it was finished, tear the old one down, and the new Sensoji would just be a few meters farther back than the current one. Or you could build the new one on some kind of giant rolling platform or something. Build it there, and when it was done, tear down the current one and slide the other one forward into the current footprint. That would be such a fun project. You could, make it live on the internet, let people see the construction. It could be hugely interesting. Sorry if I'm missing questions here. Yeah, the triangle is Asakusa, but it's not quite so easy to see triangles here, but yes, they're access points for the next level of tools. Yeah, titanium. If you look it up, you Google Sensoji or whatever, look it up on Wikipedia, it was super high-tech for the time. Titanium roof tiles. The point being, regular roof tiles are extremely heavy, and there's a huge earthquake risk, You slide a little bit, tiles come cascading down. There's a million people always clustered around Sensoji Temple. Yeah, most of the castles you see in Japan are concrete castles. I forget which ones are original. I don't remember. Himeji Castle, the Heron Castle, is that concrete or is that original? I don't remember. Nagoya is concrete, Osaka's concrete, Sensoji is concrete. I sharpened up just before I started working here this morning. I did a quick touch up on the sharpening. We sharpen all the time. Those fans are really roaring today. I don't know why. CPU 17%, drop frame 0. Looks okay. The PVA, it's not a problem. I know we thin the glue before I do this. I know it could be a problem if you're not careful. If you put too much of a rich glue mixture on here, paste the paper down, it does become a problem. I've got a block at home prepared by a different publishing company, and they had used a far too strong bond to put the tracing down. And after the carving was finished, they weren't able to get it off. In fact, that block wasn't printable. I've still got it at home. So it's a concern. It is a concern. If the glue is too strong, it affects the surface. And this is why, if you've seen me do this, you saw me do this yesterday, I moistened the woodblock first so that water soaked into the surface. Then I put a very thin layer of glue on top and straight away pasted this down. If you work on a dry wood with a thick glue, it goes into the surface and then later you have trouble with your printing. Someone just went up the stairs behind me. What time is it? I'm not sure we're not closing time yet. 8:55. Maybe it's Kawaii-san, I'm not sure. We're now in November, and for the next, from here to the end of the year, Asakusa starts to get crazy. I don't know what you know about Japanese culture, but any Japanese group or organization or company or any group of people has to have, there's a couple of events that are sort of set. And every year, every company and every group has to have what's called a bonenkai. Forget the year meeting. And it's a party, it's a year-end party. And the name is sort of half a joke. Forget the bad stuff that happened during the year, just have a last party and to blow out the things for the year. And any organization will do this in any group. And Asakusa, with its bars and restaurants and meeting places, is a huge, huge target place for having these year-end parties, bonenkai. All the restaurants and bars around here have been promoting it and advertising it. Hold your bonenkai in our restaurant or in our bar. And they've started, judging, it's usually going about the second week in November or so, they start to have these parties. And last night was Friday night, and it went on all night long. I sleep pretty well, so it doesn't bother me so much, but wow, there's party all over the place here. And that's going to be happening now, mostly on weekends, but even just any day of the week. Asakusa is bonenkai central. Comments. Sorry to miss some of this, most of this, excuse me. Sarumo Kirikayo Mochiru. Not something we like to talk about too much, but whatever. Is there an English proverb to match that Japanese one? Even monkeys fall from trees. Is there an English proverb? I don't know. What's the point of the message? That no matter how good you are, you still sometimes screw up or whatever? I can't specifically think of an English one at the moment. So the work's coming along here. This second block, this will be finished, depending how busy the shop is. I might be able to have a chance to finish it this afternoon here in the shop. We've got full staff today to do parties. I have to do the first party because that's a guest from France. But the other parties will be done by the staff. So I might finish this block. There's going to be 8 blocks altogether on this print. And they vary in difficulty, you know. They all have a detail at some point. There's one block that's got a bunch of tree branches, which is going to take me a while to carve. So I'm not sure on the schedule, but this is a real priority for me because I've got to get this up and get the first print made so that we can open the website to start next year's subscriptions. So over the next week, mostly what you're going to see me doing on this thing is carving. But having said that, I still also have to do the sizing for all of our printers. And with what's happened over the past couple of days with the orders for the gift prints, I think they're looking way more than we expected. So I'm going to have to do some more sizing. I suspect that'll be tomorrow. So tomorrow's stream here may be a sizing stream upstairs. Not quite sure. I have to look at my schedule. That might be something I'll do tonight instead. If I do it tonight, and tomorrow we'll be carving again like this. So I'm not sure. But anyway, just be prepared. Those of you who are regular viewers, this is Saturday morning here in Tokyo. Tomorrow's stream, Sunday morning in Tokyo. Could be here at the carving bench, or it's quite possible it'll be upstairs, where I'll be sizing some more paper for our printers. Not quite sure yet. See how it goes today. That'll be Sunday. Then there'll be one more Monday, and then Tuesday will be a closing day for the stream. No streams Tuesday morning in Tokyo, which is Monday night for the rest of the world mostly. Yeah, slowing down the print parties, see? There was a huge peak in the third, seems to be the third week of October this year has been the peak. It peaks at different years. Last year, the second week of November was the peak. I'm really not quite sure. This is the travelers coming to Japan, or the airline fees are higher or cheaper, whatever, I don't know. Looking at our general traffic at the moment and the print party reservations, we seem to have peaked about the third week of October. And now it's still high, there's people all over the place, but the reservations are not booked solid. But what does change is the reservations overnight. Sometimes you hear the reservations on coming in while we're doing this stream. So it changes day by day by day. But the absolute pressure peak for us now seems to be a little bit past, which suits me fine because we've got another peak coming up, and that's our gift season, where we really have to get the production wrapped up. So if the shop is a little bit quieter over the next couple of weeks, none of us are going to be sad about that. It's hard to tell. It's a seasonal business for us, which runs on different seasons. You know, the tourist season with its 3 peaks, spring, July, and autumn. And then the gift season, where people, get our prints as gifts for people. And that's ramping up right now as we speak. The only time of year when there's really nothing going on really is February. The tourists are down, the online shopping is down. It's our chance to catch a breather and get stuff done behind the scenes. But if you're looking at that party reservation calendar and thinking, gee, Mokohongan looks kind of quiet. I wonder if it's okay. Yeah, we're okay. I think that's all the cutting for that one, I think. Let me just check here and see what's going on. Again, we've got a mix of different things here. We've got outline carving. These are people in the middle distance. We have the solid block color to fill in for the people up there close. Another middle distance, close by. Somebody else close by. So I think that's the cutting. The rest now is going to be clearing. What's the time here? 9:13. Book trip for February. You come in February, I might not be here because I'm booking a trip in February to go and see my family back in Canada. That's the only time when I can get out of here. So I'll be away for a couple of weeks sometime in February. I don't know the dates yet. My mother's over there waiting. She expects me to come and see her, of course. I want to see my kids, grandchildren. But recently it's looking like once a year is about the only chance I get to get out of here, you know. When the company here has grown a bit more in the future, there's more staff, then I guess I can do so, but at the moment it's just impossible. This is still too much of a key man business. And, we're trying to change that, but it's going to take years and years. Here's a noise. What's this? It's Kawai-san, I think. Hey, good morning, morning. How's it going?
Good.
Good. Say hello here.
Hello, good morning.
Kawai-san, those of you who long-time viewers know Kawai. Right, hi, this one. So,
Gotcha.
カメラ逆に。そう。今日もちょっとビジーですね。
そうですね。4号。人数が。
He's a good guy. First step, he went straight to the party room, got the brushes, he's moistening them already, so they'll be nice and soft for the party at 10 o'clock. What time is it? 9:20. Okay, give me a couple more minutes here just to clean up a bit of this and then we'll get off. So what will be happening now, the stream? Today's Saturday, Sunday, it will be a stream, of course, absolutely. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, I'm not quite sure what I'll be doing on tomorrow's stream. It could be continuing these carving. It's just as likely that it could be a sizing stream, preparing glue for the paper upstairs. So. And not this week, but it could be that next week also I'll be doing printing shifts because the way orders are going now, the orders that are coming in from the gift page are not just for the new prints. There's people ordering all the old prints as well. And I think we're looking to be out of stock on the owl print as well very soon. So I may be doing printing shifts too over the next couple of weeks. We'll see. And given that Cameron's going on vacation, maybe I'll even be doing bookkeeping shifts. Would that be fun? You can sit here and watch me type in orders. I don't think so. We don't have to type in the orders, of course. They come in automatically from the online system. But all orders have to be checked by hand. We've got to confirm, what happens. People who do repeat orders, maybe they bought something from us last year. They come to the website, buy something else. But in the meantime, they've moved. So we have to confirm and check every address, even though it's a repeat order. There's lots of people who ask for exceptions. Please send this print to somebody else. Please put a note in it. Please hold it back for delivery such and such a time. So there's lots and lots and lots of exception orders that can't just flow through the system totally automatically. One came in a few minutes ago. It's a gentleman in America. He's been doing this for years. He just sends me a list of 10 friends. Hey Dave, here's my gift friends. He pays for 10 prints and he gives me the list of 10 addresses. And my software isn't set up to automatically handle 10 orders at the same time going to 10 different addresses being paid by a different person. So there's lots of exceptions. Even Amazon couldn't do that one. You can ask Amazon to drop ship something for you, but I don't think you can go to the Amazon catalog, order 10 different items in one order and have them shipped to 10 different people. I don't think their software handles that. Neither does mine. Koizumi-san, good morning, hello. Who's here today? What's the staff?
Kawai-sanと北村さんかな。
北村さん、okay. 最初のパーティー、僕は担当しないと無理ですから、長い間の客ですね。
はい、北村さん。
the thing about the order software, I'm in the process of trying to rebuild it, and there's a real conceptual problem here. You know, we've got gift prints where people will order a print or 2 prints or 3 prints and have them shipped to themselves or to different people around the world. And to try and write an order system that allows people to do that easily on a phone interface is turning out to be a challenging thing to do, you know. If it's a desktop, you've got room to write an order form that has lots of options and pop-ups and stuff like that. But an order form on a phone is real trouble, real trouble. All right, let's just clear this item and then I can get to work. Clear this little zone. Okay, I've got that zone cleared. Good. Okay, I have got to get out of here and get to work. Oh, missing a lot of this, I'm sorry. I'll try and catch up to this later to see what I've missed, I'm sorry. Mobile friendly Mokohankan. My God, please, please. Let me think about something else. I don't want nightmares tonight. Okay, as I say, tomorrow I might be here, I might be upstairs sizing. I'm not quite so sure. Place your bets, see which one it'll be. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been a very quiet little peaceful stream while I actually got a lot of work done. Thank you very much. I didn't do a show and tell. I had some in reserve, and maybe if you remind me later about it, I can show you. Not today. But on the next event, we have a real nice little album that came in 2 days ago. That'd be good fun to talk about. But not today. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Thanks again. Camera off. Okay, away we go. See you later. Thank you again.